For the past few weeks, I've been talking about how much my mental health has improved. And I promised you guys I would tell you what some of the things that were told to me were. And the one thing I want to talk about here that really has helped me a lot, and I think might help you if you have anxiety, if you have irritability, if you have anger issues or insecurity, is something called mindfulness. Okay. And the term mindfulness is something that I've heard since I was a kid. Many of you probably have too. When you watch stuff like Star Wars and you hear them say, be mindful of your thoughts. You hear the Jedi always saying that, And I never really understood what the word meant, even though I thought that I knew what the word meant. You know what I mean? It's one of those kind of things. And mindfulness has really helped me out. It's really helped me not only make new friends, but it's also helped me help me control my anger and help me control my insecurity. And it did wonders for me. So what is mindfulness? So I'm going to tell y'all what I learned and how I applied it. Mindfulness is basically taking time when it comes to making a decision or when it comes to a point where you're feeling a certain type of way. Taking time to be mindful and to calculate your moves before actually making them. Now, what's funny about mindfulness when it comes to me is that when it comes to business, that I've always been like that. I don't like making decisions right away. I like thinking about things, pros and cons. How's it going to work? Is it going to be good for me? I like to be logical. What I'm referring to here is when it comes to dealing with other people. And this is sort of a branch of something called CBT. No, not cock and ball torture. Cognitive behavioral therapy, which is basically a way for you to cognitively change your brain to accept things and relate things differently when it comes to your insecurities. For example, if somebody attacks me, let's say somebody says something rude to me or something like that, before I actually respond and attack them back, which is what I used to do, and the reason for that's because I was very defensive, and I covered why I'm so defensive like 3 speakdoms ago. So, again, these are kind of like a series of videos that I think you guys, even though you don't have to watch them all, it would benefit you to kind of watch them in order for the past month or so, because there is like a story here that kind of all ties together, right? So, I used to get attacked. I would attack right back. I mean, I was vicious. I'm one of the most vicious roasters ever on Twitter. Me and Barack Obama, man, we're ruthless. But now, even though I still have that inside of me, and I will unleash it if the time is right on the right person, which I don't want to do, but it happens. But I try not to do that. And so what we do is we do what's called mindfulness. Now, what is that? So let's say somebody attacks me. Before I respond back to them, I have to think, okay, what are going to be the consequences of my reply? If I reply back to this person with something mean, they're going to say something mean back to me, and we might be on Twitter for 2 hours going back and forth, arguing, which I've done in the past. I did it 4 years ago. Same thing with Facebook. We would be sitting here arguing for hours. Next thing you know, like 3 hours have gone by and I've produced nothing. I've accomplished nothing. I haven't improved my business. I haven't spent time with my loved ones. Dude, I have pushed loved ones of mine away because of my insecurities and negativity. And this is all stuff that I know some of you guys deal with, which is why I'm here to help you, because I promise you I'm a changed man. I'm on my way to becoming a better person. And mindfulness is the key. So you sit there and you say, okay, how should I respond to this person? Should I even respond to them? And if I do, what am I going to say? Now, there's different ways to do it. You could always fight back, like I said, or you could figure out ways to diffuse the situation. Or what I've been doing lately is kind of just telling them, like, look, man, this is what I tell people now. I'm like, I don't really care what you have to say because you don't know me. And because you're a stranger on the internet, you don't know anything about me at all. You're just making judgmental comments because you're insecure. I'm not going to waste my time talking to you. Now, again, I don't always tell them all those details, but that's the mentality behind it. Like, in my mind, I have reformatted my brain like a computer to where now, when it comes to people, quote, criticizing, which that's not what it is. It's not really criticism. It's just people talking shit on the internet because they rarely actually do that. It's just an attack. Instead, I'll say, okay, well, this person's obviously coming from a perspective of they have their own issues. They're projecting them onto me. They don't even know me. They know nothing about me except for my videos and my tweets. So why would I ever take them seriously? So what that ends up doing is when I think about that, it sort of reverses my response in my brain to where I don't respond. Or if I do respond, it's a lot more sort of shifting the polarity onto them. You want to bring heat onto me, I'll just shift it right back to you and make you look like a fucking clown. Because at the end of the day, they are fucking clowns. I mean, that's what they are, right? And that's kind of how it works. That's one example. Another example would be, let's say you're getting into a fight with your spouse. Let's say you're arguing with your girlfriend or something like that. So instead of just letting yourself scream or say mean things you don't mean, which I've done in the past as well, you sit there and you say, okay, how can I diffuse the situation? How can I turn this into a positive, calm her down, calm myself down, right? And fix this. And that's what we have to do as people. So you could sit there and be mindful. You could think for just a moment. And sometimes you'll figure it out in 30 seconds. You're not wasting days doing this, even though sometimes it can be. And so you're sitting there and you're like, okay, how do I respond to this? Maybe using some humor. Maybe sort of saying, okay, look, one of the most powerful things you can say to somebody is, I understand where you're coming from. Even if you don't agree with them. Right? Even if you don't agree with their philosophy or their mentality or what they're saying, if you tell someone I understand where you're coming from, at the very least, they're going to feel validated. They're going to feel like, okay, like this person gets me, even though he doesn't agree with me, he gets me if they're a mature adult. If you run into a freaking little kid or some overgrown man baby on the internet, you know, you can't do anything about that. But if it's somebody in the real world, which is what really counts, the internet's bullshit, the real world is what matters. Everybody listening to this right now is a real person, so I'm going to transmit this to you. Mindfulness is a serious thing, you know? And same thing goes when you're in a job interview. When somebody asks you a question, you don't have to respond to the question right away. You could say, let me think about it, and then they give you like 60 seconds or so, maybe 30 seconds to think about your answer. You know, basically the entire idea behind mindfulness is to slow things down. Even though it's not that slow because your brain's going to work fast, it's still sort of a way to kind of slow things down and assess the situation and say, okay, do I really want to spend 2 hours arguing with this prick on the internet who I don't know? Or do I want to just block the dude and move on with my life? Do I want to just mute the guy or say something to diffuse him and then go on and make my videos or hang out with my friends or play video games, something that I really enjoy doing and that's productive, you know what I mean? Maybe video games are not productive, but I'm going to have more fun doing it. You know what I mean? Because we live in a world now, we live in a world where it's constant negativity on social media, constant bickering, constant fighting. Same thing here on YouTube. I ain't got time for it anymore, bro. I do not have time for it. The fact that we're in a pandemic right now and there's people who are still wanting to fight with each other when we should be united, I don't have time for those people because those people are very maladaptive. They have maladaptive tendencies. They are they are soaking in negativity. And we don't need those people in our lives, man. We're trying to improve our conditions. We're trying to make more money. We're trying to have better friends and enjoy life because guess what? We're only here for a limited amount of time. You know what I mean? We're not here forever. So let's enjoy it while we can. Let's enjoy our youth while we can without letting some prick bring us down. Mindfulness helps you with that. Mindfulness helps you with problems like that. You know what I mean? Another example is, let's say that something bad. Here's the big one. Here's the big one for you guys. Something bad happens to you. You know how when sometimes life throws you a monkey wrench and you're pissed off. Let's say you accidentally crash your car into a pit or you know you run out of gas, you have car problems, or you know let's say something as bad as you break your leg. I don't want it to happen. Let's say it happens, right? You could sit here and bitch and moan and scream about life and God and things that you think are unfair, and that's justified because you should try to live in your feelings. But if you use mindfulness, if you practice it, you can kind of say, okay, am I going to waste my time complaining or am I going to make the best of it and try to figure out a solution? Okay, I got to be in a cast for 2 weeks or 2 months. That sucks. But you know what? At the end of the road, I'll be out of that cast. See what I'm saying? And I know a lot of you guys are going through this. I'm not in that particular situation, but I know a lot of you guys have anxiety. I know I read the comments. I read the comments for these speakdoms. I'm telling you, yo, practicing CBT, you don't have to take any medicine. You don't have to take any freaking depression pills. I mean, sometimes you need it for clinical depression, but if you're just depressed, CBT can work wonders on you. I'm telling you, cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness restructure your brain to where you turn negatives into positives and you kind of accept the way things are and you try to do your best to flip it. And I know it's hard because I'm just learning this now in my mid 30s and I wish I had known it when I was in my 20s, but that's just not the way life is. You just don't know what's going to happen to you. You don't know how things are going to go. So try to practice mindfulness. Next time you have a confrontation with somebody, again, even when you're out like the club or something, let's say that the COVID thing ends, you're out at a club, some guy calls you a prick. Are you going to go there and knock his face out? Okay, you might do that, but you might get arrested and spend the night in jail, or you could just leave the club. Yeah, you don't want to be disrespected, but you got to think about the pros and cons here. You know what I'm saying? I've talked about this before in a previous video. Maybe that day, maybe you have like a big date the next day, and if you get locked up that night for hitting a guy, you're going to end up doing jail time. You're going to miss that date. You know what I mean? Or spend time with your family. So you got to think about yourself and what makes you happy. You know what I mean? And ultimately, I feel like mindfulness is the key to maturity. And this, once again, goes back to what I've been telling y'all. I am a changed man. If you are coming to this channel because I've had an issue with you in the past, and I guess there's some people who still listen to me despite me having issues with them, let's move past it. Let's forget about the past. Focus on the future. That goes for everybody who, quote, trolled me. I'm willing to do that. And if you're not, then I'll just block you and move on with my life. Just being honest with you. But most of y'all, I think, are good people, and you'll understand. The same thing goes for people in the real world, your family, who take advantage of you. Like, let's say, I'll give you another one. Let's say you lend your friend $50 and he doesn't pay you back. You could go knock him out. You can go beat him up with a bat if you want to. You could do a bunch of stuff, right? I'm not saying you should. You could. But what you could do is instead be mindful of it and say, you know what? This guy is not really a friend of mine if he won't pay me back. Somebody gyps you for money or something. If he needs money again, I'm never giving it to him again. You know what I mean? One of those things where you're like, okay, this is a lesson learned. You do what's called charge it to the game, right? Which is like, try to think about what I'm saying here. Charge it to the game, where that basically means you are charging it as you're taking it as an L, but as a learning experience. An L does not mean a loss. An L means a learning experience. That's the key to maturity and mindfulness. So I hope this video helped you genuinely. It's a topic that means a lot to me. I love you because I know that you're flawed just like me, and together we can improve. Have a great one. Thank you for your support as always. Without you, there would be no me, and we'll talk soon.